Welcome, my name is Blake Casper. I'm a third generation McDonald franchisee. My sister and I, Allison, is here. We represent Casper's Company. Casper's Company was founded by a man, Fritz Casper. Fritz was an entrepreneur with a men's clothing store in Waukegan, Illinois, when a McDonald's restaurant opened in his town, very close to the very start. And Fritz was impressed with the lines of customers and the dynamic salesman behind it all. Fritz was looking for a new start in life. He dreamed of moving to Florida and bought into Ray Kroc's vision. He packed up his young family and took a leap of faith on the Golden Arches. This story is no different than many of yours, where by chance, hard work, and a pioneering spirit, our families partnered with this great brand, McDonald's. Many were more intentional in how you got here. You worked for the company or a fellow franchisee, all with the hope that your hard work would pay off, that you would earn the right and honor of being a McDonald's franchisee, a prestigious position both in the McDonald's system and in our communities. We take that position seriously, as Ray, Fred, and Fritz taught us to. No matter how we got here, we have poured all our time, energy, and resources into this brand and trusted that the goodwill we built both with our franchisor and our customers would pay off, that this goodwill would be respected and honored. And as any good accountant will tell you, goodwill is the least valuable asset on a balance sheet. It's the first to get written off in bad times. Ray's promise that we would make our return first made up for this lack of security. That was the promise. That was the partnership. Fritz bought into Ray's promise even when Ray could deliver little else. Fritz moved to Tampa in 1957. Ray had no way to support Fritz in his move, not in the way we know today. Fritz knew this going into it. Fritz found the property, secured the mortgage, built the building, negotiated the suppliers, and even got through the mob, which controlled Tampa at the time. Fritz met his business consultant only 2 days before he opened. His name was Fred Turner, but none of that mattered because Fritz had a partner, and his name was Ray Kroc. Fritz trusted Ray, and Ray trusted Fritz. Fritz gladly invested in Ray's brand, treating it like his own, and in time it became Fritz's brand. Fritz became an owner, and Casper's became synonymous with McDonald's in Tampa. Just like everyone here today, and those owners who are not here, you built and build this brand within your communities, with your teams, and with our customers, one moment of truth at a time. You are the owners of the brand, and now more than ever, the stewards of its legacy. A legacy that's rich and is inexorably linked with its owner-operators. And I'm here to tell you that legacy is still very strong. It's alive and well. The response to one email tells you all you need to know about its vital signs. Look around this building today. Shake hands with your fellow owners and know that our heritage and our culture is still very much intact. You are not alone. My own story is very much the story of the next generation of owner-operators. We weren't the pioneers and we didn't know Ray Kroc. Some of us were lucky enough to grow up with other legends like Fred Turner and George Cohn, Jerry Newman, and Max Cooper. They were our mentors, our legends, our founding fathers. None of them perfect, and neither were Fritz or Ray. For me personally, I've never known a time when my family wasn't a part of McDonald's. With the exception of college and a short finance career, I don't know anything else. The traditions we have lived by and the protocols we all adhere to are all I have ever known. This may make me seem unusually naive, sheltered, unsophisticated, perhaps a sort of silver spatula joke to elite business-trained consultants. In fact, legacy is very much a derogatory term in most business schools, something companies need to be cleansed of, not celebrated. But what we do know unequivocally is that every successful leader of this brand came to rely on that legacy, embraced it, supported it, gave what to the outside world would seemingly be unbelievable tribute to it, and held it above all else. Yes, the time I didn't spend on Wall Street or at Wharton gave me the opportunity to study this unusual system and its incredible symbiotic relationships. It also taught me the real-life lesson of running a restaurant, no less a McDonald's restaurant. My time solely focused on McDonald's has served me well. And just like you, the longer I'm in it, the more I appreciate it and cherish it. And if need be, we'll defend it. The greater McDonald's system in many ways mimics the restaurants that it supports. It must do so for us to be successful as a brand. The operator culture even more so. We are the people developing people. It's what we do exceptionally well. And I'm going to take some shots at Steve and Chris K today. They've earned them, but I'm also going to give them their due. Chris gave an incredible speech at the Government Relations Workshop last year in Washington, D.C. I don't know if anyone saw that speech. He paid tribute to the educational value that McDonald's provides this country. It was high praise, and coming from someone with Chris's educational pedigree, high praise indeed. Chris quoted the legendary investor Charlie Munger and said, "McDonald's is the #1 educational institution in the United States." McDonald's is the #1 educational institution in the United States. Again, coming from Chris K, it's high praise. But what Chris failed to mention and what he fails to appreciate is that you and I are doing that teaching. That teaching doesn't happen without its owners. We all know what happens when there's no ownership in our restaurants. We've all seen our restaurants slip. It's almost always due to a lack of ownership. When we have a few restaurants, we produce this ownership through our individual efforts. When we grow larger, we must distribute that. We've got to build structures. We've got to touch in other ways. But we must have ownership in every one of our restaurants. If we don't, that development, that training, that building, that culture building does not happen. And we've all seen it. Either Chris and Steve do not understand this, or they don't understand that what they're doing is undermining our ability to do that, our ability to invest in our people. That's what all of this is doing that's harming it so much. It's the removal of our ability to operate our businesses that bleeds over to our ability to invest in our people, to support our team members' growth, to allow each of them to take the individual risks that is needed in order to develop. Without it, they will not grow. And as Ray said so well, where there is no risk, there can be no real reward. We are only green and growing when we are taking risk, but we take less and less when we trust our partner less and less. Similar to the structure in our individual organizations, we built this structure throughout the U.S. It was an elaborate system of RLCs, DLCs, NLCs, OPNAD, co-ops, the NLSC, SET, PAC, all of that. We had company, supplier, and operator participation up and down the decahedron, as Fred put it. To the outsider, it can easily seem overwhelming, confusing, and seemingly a waste of time and money. To the outsider, why not streamline it and eliminate it? Why not get the smartest operators and company people together and eliminate all the back and forth? Even better, why don't we hire the brightest minds in the world and have them come up with a plan for us all to run? We can then go about our business with no check and balances. Seemed like a good idea. There were many of us that had concerns, but we saw the planes leaving the tarmac, and we didn't want to get left behind. We assumed we would fix it along the way and together. And then came June 6, 2018. Then we all knew something was very different. And we knew that it was no longer business as usual, that we wouldn't be fixing this together, and we wouldn't be at the table in order to do so. A couple of observations and unsolicited advice for Steve and Chris. For Steve, you did a nice job recognizing that we must evolve as a brand, that we have to change with the consumer and the times, and that the market doesn't stand still for any brand. But Steve, you are not in Europe anymore. While the U.S. has had its challenges the last few years, we are not a failing brand like the one you took over in England. You had great success with an operator platform that is very different from the American model. The American consumer is very different from the European consumer. And your American owners understand that consumer much better than you or your best consultants. For Chris, your job is much harder. You've been led to believe that quick and decisive will win the day at McDonald's, that your predecessors just weren't smart enough or strong enough to get the innovation implemented that McDonald's needed to be successful. The truth is very different and much more complex. Almost every real innovation at McDonald's, from the drive-thru to breakfast to the Chicken McNugget, happened with very little fanfare and not as some massive 5-year strategy plan. Breakfast all day is a great example of change masked as innovation, where we listened to the pundits more than we actively studied and tested the results or listened to our operators. Breakfast all day has done very little to help our overall business, but has added much to the complexity to an already complex model. This was not innovation any more than opening more hours or opening on Christmas is innovation. Innovation in our brand is much more mundane and typically is only identified after the fact. Innovation is having technology that actually works for our customers, works for our crews, and works for our back offices. Innovation is coming up with an unbelievable chicken sandwich that can be prepared in our existing kitchens, under our existing service times, sold at a price that leaves margins for your owners. Innovation is caring about your owners and coming up with real solutions to their real operational struggles, no matter the PR consequences. And now innovation will be putting the owner-operator input back into every decision that you make, including how we will be renegotiating all of BBV 2020. Which brings us to today and the invitation to this meeting. It's not by accident that an attorney, John Kujua, was listed on the invite. John knows us very well and has spent years trying to keep the three-legged stool balanced, helping us to work on the engines as we kept the planes in flight, sometimes in ways that not all of us appreciated, myself included. But no matter how tense the negotiations got, I never doubted John's commitment to our brand and to the special relationship we have with each other. However, John is still an attorney, and it's rare that we invite an attorney to an owner's meeting. When trust breaks down, you can count on attorneys to be nearby. Not that attorneys aren't valuable in under other circumstances. Ray and Fritz trusted each other, but they did have a contract. The original contract is hanging behind that wall right there. I urge you guys to look at it. It's only 7 pages. But it's the original contract. We found it 40 years later in a dusty drawer and hung it on a wall. It's on display as a symbol, not a working document. Chris got everyone to sign a contract that we all thought would be hung on a wall one day. We thought it was just a starting point. He does have legal recourse, and if he's going to use it, we need attorneys and we need them quick. I doubt it will come to that, and we will do our best to avoid it. We need each other to be successful. We want each other to be successful. Our mutual dependence relies on it, and the three-legged stool is our secret weapon.